December 15, 1967. Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Evening rush hour. Families heading home, workers crossing the river. Christmas shopping bags tucked beside them in their cars. The Silver Bridge, a proud suspension bridge spanning the Ohio River, groans under the weight of holiday traffic. At 5:04 p.m., without warning, the bridge shudders. A metallic snap echoes through the cold winter air. In less than a minute, the entire structure collapses into the dark waters below, taking 46 lives with it. It was one of the deadliest bridge disasters in American history. But for some, the horror of that night didn't end with twisted steel and drowned cars. Witnesses swear they saw something unusual only hours before, a long freight train moving heavy, mysterious cargo across the Silver Bridge. Some believe that train played a role in weakening the structure. The official investigation dismissed it, but locals never forgot. And from those whispers, a legend was born. A story of conspiracy, shadowy experiments, and the chilling connection between a doomed bridge and a train that should never have been there. This is the story of the Silver Bridge collapse and the train connection that still fuels debate more than half a century later.
When the Silver Bridge opened in 1928, it was a symbol of modern engineering. Spanning 1,760 feet across the Ohio River, it linked Point Pleasant, West Virginia, with Gallipolis, Ohio. At the time, it was cutting edge, the first I-bar chain suspension bridge of its kind in the United States. It was called silver, not for its metal, but for the shiny aluminum paint that gleamed under the sun. To locals, it was more than just a structure, it was a lifeline. Every day, thousands of cars and trucks crossed it. By the 1960s, traffic had grown far beyond what the engineers of the 1920s ever envisioned. The bridge was designed for Model T Fords, each weighing about 1,500 pounds. But by the late 1960s, vehicles were heavier, often 4,000 pounds or more. Trailers and overloaded freight trucks rumbled across daily. The Silver Bridge was aging, overworked, and overstressed, yet few suspected just how fragile it had become. It was a Friday evening. The work week had ended, and shoppers crowded stores for holiday gifts. By late afternoon, the Silver Bridge was jammed with cars. Temperatures hovered near freezing, and a light fog drifted off the river. At 5:04 p.m., drivers heard a sound. Survivors described it as a loud gunshot echoing from the center span. That was the failure of a single I-bar, a metal link critical to the suspension system. Within seconds, the chain reaction began. I-bars snapped, the deck tilted violently, cars rolled backwards, smashing into each other as the structure gave way. Some drivers clung to steering wheels, trapped as their vehicles plunged into the icy water below. Witnesses on the shore saw the Silver Bridge fold in on itself like a ribbon. The collapse took less than a minute. In the aftermath, 31 vehicles lay twisted and submerged. Rescue crews rushed to the scene, but survival was slim. By the time recovery ended, 46 people were confirmed dead. The federal investigation that followed was massive. Engineers combed through wreckage, hauling pieces of steel from the river. Their conclusion? A single I-bar, number 330 on the Ohio side, had fractured due to a defect known as stress corrosion cracking. The flaw was only 0.1 inches deep, invisible to the eye. Once it failed, the bridge's unique design offered no redundancy. It was, officially, an engineering tragedy, a 39-year-old bridge carrying loads it was never built for. But for some locals, the explanation felt too neat, too simple. Because just hours before the collapse, something strange had been seen on the bridge. Point Pleasant was a river town, but it was also a rail town. Freight trains were common along the Ohio River Valley, carrying coal, steel, and military cargo. Several eyewitnesses later claimed they had seen a long freight train cross the Silver Bridge on the very day it collapsed. Nothing unusual about that, except this train didn't look ordinary. Locals described the cars as oversized and enclosed, unlike typical coal or boxcars. Some swore they saw military escorts nearby. Others recalled a strange vibration that shook the bridge as the train passed. Hours later, the bridge was gone. Coincidence? The official report said yes. Investigators dismissed the train theory, noting that the Silver Bridge had never been built to carry trains at all. It was strictly a highway bridge. Freight rail lines ran nearby, but not across the span. Yet the stories persisted. Some believe locals confused heavy trucks with train cars. Others think they really did see something unusual, and that the government buried it. Why would anyone link a train to the Silver Bridge collapse? In the climate of 1967 America, conspiracy theories thrived. The Vietnam War was raging. Trust in government was eroding. Point Pleasant itself was already the center of strange stories. The Mothman sightings of 1966 to 1967 had made headlines. The collapse of the Silver Bridge happened just as those sightings stopped, fueling local legends that the disasters were connected. Some conspiracy theorists suggested the train carried experimental military equipment whose vibrations weakened the bridge. It may have been loaded with nuclear materials, making secrecy essential? Or more chillingly, that the collapse was a cover-up, blamed on a tiny crack to hide something much larger. No evidence has ever proven these theories, but the train connection became part of the folklore, entwined with tales of Mothman, government silence, and the paranoia of the Cold War era. For those who lived through it, the tragedy was less about mystery and more about loss. Survivors remembered the chaos vividly. One man described being thrown from his truck into the freezing water, clinging to wreckage until rescuers pulled him out. Families in nearby homes heard the roar of twisting steel and ran outside to see the bridge collapsing. Divers who searched the river spoke of cars stacked on top of each other, headlights still faintly glowing underwater. Theories about trains or Mothman didn't matter to them. For Point Pleasant, the disaster was a wound that never fully healed. In the wake of the collapse, President Lyndon B. Johnson ordered a full-scale review of America's infrastructure. The tragedy directly led to the creation of the National Bridge Inspection Standards, which still govern inspections today. A replacement, the Silver Memorial Bridge, was built in 1969, wider, stronger, and safer. But the legends lived on. Books and documentaries connected the collapse with the supernatural, the unexplained, and yes, the mysterious freight train. So, what about the train? Did it exist? Rail records from 1967 show no official freight train crossing the Silver Bridge that day. In fact, the structure had no tracks, making it physically impossible. Most historians conclude witnesses likely misremembered heavy trucks or military convoys crossing the span before the collapse. But to deal with main matterie, memory and myth often blur. To this day, older residents still insist, "I saw it with my own eyes, a train, cars bigger than trucks, and after that, the bridge was gone." Whether it was a train, trucks, or simply imagination shaped by tragedy, the story refuses to die. Standing on the banks of the Ohio River today, the Silver Memorial Bridge looms strong and steady. But the waters below still hold ghosts. 46 people died when the Silver Bridge fell. The official cause may have been a crack no bigger than a dime, but to many, that explanation will never feel complete, because legends fill the gaps facts cannot. And in Point Pleasant, the legend of the train, mysterious, heavy, secretive, remains forever tied to the night the Silver Bridge collapsed. Was it real? Or just a shadow in the fog of memory? The truth may never be known.